Rumble. It's not like he ruined Edge's entrance at the Royal Rumble this last year. It's not like he's ever like just shot to the fans because we need to see a fan reaction of a kid picking his nose in the ninth row as freaking.
Very important that happens.
It's laughable. But yes, I mean, yeah, you're right. He absolutely ruined that. I was pissed about that. That was the turning point of when I really started to hate Kevin Dunn. That and the fact that he built too many dams in Connecticut.
Right.
But anyway, tomorrow is the Royal Rumble. I'm excited for it. Jay and I were talking about it a little bit before the podcast, and I told him, and he's in agreement, that tomorrow it's a crapshoot. Tomorrow, it really is a crapshoot, because the biggest issue that we've had with the Royal Rumble in the past is the Royal Rumble has been very predictable. I remember the first time Randy Orton won the Royal Rumble, like they really just like,
he's on such a hot streak.
He's on a hot streak. They cut that video promo of just him after they did the whole package for the Royal Rumble, and I'm like, yeah, Randy Orton's going to win. Last year McIntyre looked like he was the favorite, and he ended up winning the Royal Rumble. 2 years ago, it was either going to be Rollins or McIntyre. So, I mean, there's been more than one occasion where the Royal Rumble has been very predictable. This year, I could see anywhere of like up to 12 people winning the Rumble this year. And it just brings like so much happiness because like I love that aspect. And yes, as much as McIntyre was the proverbial favorite to win the Rumble last year, the fact is that they still threw that element of surprise with Edge coming out at the Rumble last year, and the fact that he was there for the first time in 9 years when he had to retire because of the spinal stenosis.
Yeah.
But I'm excited,
Oh, I hear you. And Chris Brown there chiming in with something that the Brainless One definitely wants to talk about.
That's Chris. Spoiler alert: you and I are on the same page for that. We really are. And it's funny too because like Chris Brown was talking about how today on Talking Raw Talk or Smacking Talk or whatever the hell the wrestling backstage WWE backstage
they're doing a
thing, and I'm glad to see Renee Young actually come out.
What's up, Monsef?
And she's going to be co-hosting with I think Booker T and Paige today.
Yep.
And they announced that they're going to have a match. It's going to be between Natty Neidhart and Tamina Snuka, and whoever wins that match comes out as number 30 in the Women's Royal Rumble. And then they also said they were going to announce who was going to be number 1 and number 2. And it made me think about how back in the 90s, and you can definitely confirm with this with me. Back when they used to have the Royal Rumble, they used to have it on Sunday Night Heat. Was the show before
the Rumble,
right?
That was the kickoff show.
That was the kickoff show without being called the kickoff show. But every year before on the kickoff show, they would have 2 dudes who were wrestling in the Royal Rumble, and typically whoever won the match got to come out as number 30, and whoever lost the match had to come out as number 1.
Yeah,
I personally thought that whoever lost the match should have came out as number 14, since that's such a plague number and everything, because like it's like the cursed number 14 in the Royal Rumble.
Is that when Pete Rose came out and then got tombstoned by Kane?
No, but like I know one of the Blue Brothers came out of that spot. The British Bulldog came out in that spot.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Lloyd. We always appreciate it. Christopher, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we're super hyped up for Royal Rumble this Sunday, and as the Brainless One's been saying, like the fact that there's no clear-cut favorite, like we were running through, like, it could be this person, it could be this person, it could be somebody we haven't seen in a while, it could be Sheamus. So,
I'll tell you right now, if Sheamus wins the Royal Rumble tomorrow, he's not my pick to win the Royal Rumble, but if Sheamus wins the Royal Rumble, I'm going to run around my house butt-ass naked tomorrow.
Great.
I'm going to make sure Nicole doesn't record it either.
Okay, good. I don't think anybody wants to see that. So,
yeah.
Speaking of something that they might see, though, you have bets on this Royal Rumble.
I do have a bet on this Royal Rumble.
The Brainless One, it may do something live on the podcast, but we will get into that a little more deeply once we get to our predictions, because my goodness. Brainless One doing brainless things.
Well, you got to understand, my girlfriend Nicole has been very adamant about how she's been wanting me to do this one stupid human trick. Once she found out that I like to do stupid human tricks, and she's been trying to get me to do it since at least last year's WrestleMania, because that was when I said I think it was like Tamina Snuka, SmackDown or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, because I said Tamina was going to win. You're like, you're.
She almost did too.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because I thought it was rather interesting when the news broke. So I have a question for you, Cousin Jay.
What is it?
What do Ron Swanson, Dwight K. Schrute, and Hulk Hogan all have in common?
I don't know, Cousin Bobby. What?
Besides the fact that none of them have been in my kitchen. That's a Cheers reference if you've gotten that. But all three of them will be streaming live on Peacock.
Yeah.
And you could have said the three goats, too. That would have been an acceptable answer.
That they are three goats.
Ron Swanson is the goat, so is Dwight, and obviously so is Hulk Hogan. Ironically, I have all three of their Funko Pops, too, so they actually have more in common than I led on to believe. But the news broke out earlier this week that Peacock has struck a deal with the WWE to acquire the rights for streaming
for the next 5 years
of the WWE Network.
WWE has been positioning for this for a while. You know, I think it was a little while ago where we had talked about how the former Zeb Coulter talked about how there was a company looking in possibly buying WWE, and that was about the time the pandemic hit. And we're like, you know, Vince McMahon's been dealing with a lot of crap for how he's dealt with the pandemic. You know, maybe he'd be interested in getting rid of it. But, you know, maybe all along what really was happening was him trying to sell the network or sell the rights to the network, very similar to what they do with USA Network for Raw and what they do with Fox for SmackDown. They sell rights. WWE is still in charge of producing the show, but, you know, through Peacock, they will, you know, one for the wrestling fan, if you want to get the base Peacock app, it's $4.99. So you're saving a few dollars a month if you want to by having the WWE Network through Peacock. So,
as somebody who has both the WWE Network and Peacock, what's up, Justin? Thanks for tuning in, man. As somebody who does have both the WWE Network and Peacock, it's saving me money now because now I can bump up to the Peacock Premium, which is $10 a month, where I get all the bells and whistles and no ads, but I also get the WWE Network, and it's just, you know, it'd be $5 cheaper than what I'm paying now. So I'm really happy about that. Just because whenever I'm done watching the Gimmick Battle Royal, I can put on Ron Swanson.
Right. Justin, they are in a baseball field once again for the Royal Rumble, but the thing is, the Tropicana Field is a dome stadium, so they will not get rained on. So
I can't believe that the Royal Rumble and the Super Bowl are going to be in back-to-back weekends in the same city. I don't think that's ever happened before.
And WrestleMania is going to be in the same city.
Honest to goodness, there has been like in the same calendar year where WrestleMania and the Super Bowl have been in the same city.
Yeah.
So, because I'm pretty sure when the Super Bowl was at the Meadowlands, it was also WrestleMania that same year. So.
I believe you are correct.
And I also believe it was Dallas too. Was another time.
And Dallas
and shit, man.
So yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good move. A lot of people are speculating that now because the NBC, who owns Peacock, has the rights to the WWE Network, and because NBC is the father station or the mother station of the USA Network, the parent company. I was close. I mean, a father and a mother are parents.
Yeah. Get
it?
Yeah. I get it.
That was humorous. No, that was terrible.
What?
I'm sorry. But the fact that they're the parent company of the USA Network, so NBC already owns the rights to Monday Night Raw being on the USA, NXT. Now they're going to have the network. So a lot of people are saying that once the contract ends with Fox, don't be surprised if NBC comes in and just completely buys the WWE Network, which, I mean, it's going to be about a little less than 4 years from now, because that's when the contract expires. And if that's the case, I'd be curious to see what happens.
You know, I don't know. Like, as much like if Vince was going to sell, I would think it would have happened in this year. Now I'm just fully convinced Vince McMahon is going to die before he sells the company. So, but yeah, I think with the move to Peacock, one of the things that I know is exciting to like WWE is that there are people who may have not wanted to watch WWE. They're like, but they think people may just casually tune in to see what's with the WWE network and maybe get some new fans that they didn't have before. And again, cheaper price point. And I'm going to guess the streaming service for Peacock is going to have more subscribers than the WWE network currently has. So I'm going to guess that, you know, plenty more eyeballs, and they could feel free to stream whatever content they want. And maybe they start off, you know, watching the old school stuff, and then maybe they watch some of the documentaries of the old school people, but then eventually make their way to like, what's going on with the new stuff? And maybe they sit there and like what they see with Roman Reigns. Maybe they like what they see with Drew McIntyre, and maybe they'll enjoy the fact that, oh, Goldberg, I remember him. So I know that that's the hope. I know that one thing that was talked about behind the scenes, the folks that work specifically on the WWE network were completely blindsided by this. And they're kind of freaked out about their jobs. It's like, well, technically speaking, we're going to be getting paid by like through our Peacock contract. I mean, in my view, obviously I'm not in that situation, but like, it seems like WWE is making more money by having Peacock doing the streaming rights. So I don't think anybody who works for the network should be worried.
Right.
I don't think any of the wrestlers should be worried about having a smaller paycheck. I think actually all of them should be happy and should know that they're probably going to they could get paid more.
Right.
So what's up, Timmy? Thanks for tuning in.
Give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Son, I think you misheard what I said. What I think you thought I said was, give me a whole bunch of bacon and eggs. And what I really meant was, give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I'm just so happy. I really am, because like I was one of those people, like I got tired of like all the memes and all the people going out on Twitter and all this and on social media going, I'm so sad that The Office is going to be leaving Netflix on December 31st, and on January 1st it's going to be on Peacock and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I might as well just sign up for Peacock so I don't have that issue. And then I looked and I saw all the great things on Peacock, because I loved Parks and Recs. I love The Office. I actually do enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That's actually a really funny show too.
Yep.
And that's on there. They have all the Law and Orders, and I was like, this is actually a pretty solid investment. I'm like, and I don't mind spending $5 a month. And then here we are later in the month, and ta-da!
Yeah.
I'm gonna have all the Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik that I can get my hands on.
Justin apparently is a big fan of Ron Swanson. Swanson is the GOAT.
Ron Swanson, hot take.
There needs to be a universe where Dwight Schrute and Ron Swanson meet.
Hot take. Ron Swanson is the greatest television character of all time. I mean that literally.
Literally.
He's
definitely not.
He's literally.
Definitely not. So.
And it's funny too, because now that I have the network now that I have Peacock and I've been watching a little bit more of Parks and Rec, Jean Ralphio is starting to grow on me.
Well, when Jean Ralphio, like when I first saw him, I'm like going, oh, he's just a knockoff of what's his name, the Indian guy. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, Tom Haverford.
Yeah. Like I was like, hey, he's just a clone of him. And then like when Tom started kind of growing up and Jean Ralphio never did, but like all his things that like super annoyed me are now like the best parts of him.
The episode where I hate the fact that we're talking
He and
about
his sister
Oh,
together are
the episode where he gets the job as a temp at the accounting agency, the one that keeps trying to hire Ben Wyatt, and the guy, I think it's Barney or Bernie or whatever the hell his name is, and he's like that whole scene at the end where he gets hired and then is like fired 2 minutes later. You're fired. All right, I just walk out the same way I came in, right? All right. I'm like, oh my god, that's so funny. The dude's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, we got off on that tangent because the Peacock. So
it's all Peacock.
Right, but
I blame Vince McMahon for the fact that I got off target on that one.
It's such good shit. So, anyway, yeah, I think this is nothing but good for WWE, and
I agree,
and for the fans. Honestly, again, you
and I will say this, and it's something that you and I have even discussed. It's all about, and whatever you have to do to get eyeballs on the product, you have to do. Agreement with NBC to join forces with Peacock. People who are going to be more in tune to the Peacock, because a lot of people are fans of like the shows that I just mentioned. And then it's like, oh, now you're going to bring in all the wrestling fans who were already on the WWE network, and now they're going to be, getting into the Peacock shit.
So one minor thing that did happen, I shouldn't even say minor, but one large thing that happened is basically ESPN has pulled everything WWE. They're no longer going to talk about WWE, talk with WWE on any of their products, because one of the places that was vying for the rights for the WWE network was ESPN. And basically once they found out, they signed with Peacock, that went kaput.
Yeah.
So, that's some exposure there that they're not going to get. But again, in general, this is a win to me for WWE.
So, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been nice to still have it, because I always thought it was always funny to me. Like, I would go on ESPN and they would be like, WWE superstar Becky Lynch is pregnant. And I'm like, geez, I never thought I'd see the day where ESPN was talking about a wrestler being pregnant and shit. And shit.
So, anyway, yeah. So, what do you want to get to next?
Should we just get through the recaps of all the shows this week that we had?
Yeah, let's kind of quickly go.
You want to go on the Monday Night Raw?
No.
Some NXT?
Why don't we talk about the shows that have nothing to do with the Rumble first, and then we'll get into the shows that have stuff to do with the Rumble, and then
we're gonna write our novel,
and then we'll get into the Rumble. Yeah.
Yeah. You ruined my Stewie Griffin. It's all good. So you want to talk a little AEW, or as Hulk Hogan refers to it as A&W Wrestling?
Yeah, A&W Wrestling, brother. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Dynamite. So Dynamite still residing within the friendly confines of Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Kenny Omega sat there. And apparently, they forced him out there to wrestle in the cold again. Poor Kenny Omega. He was involved at the end of the show in an angle, but so one standout part for me that I really enjoyed about this show is Jungle Boy getting his first decent singles victory. I think technically it's his first singles victory in AEW.
Yeah. But
he and Dax Harwood had a heck of a match. And my favorite part of this whole thing was that Luchasaurus was handcuffed to both Tully Blanchard and Cash Wheeler. So that way they couldn't interfere, because they interfered. They interfere in everything. But, it was a great back and forth match. And in the end, you get Jungle Boy getting a tap out on like Dax Harwood, who's supposed to be tough as nails. So I thought it was really good stuff.
I'm sorry. I was reading something real quick.
Why don't you comment on the match? I
thought it was good. I was very happy for Jungle Boy to get the victory there. It was a much-needed victory. I know JR is a huge fan of Jungle Boy. I like Jungle Boy. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's young enough that he still has a little bit of time to develop. He's got a great backstory. and the kid's going to be a future star in WWE. WWE, I'll be all right. In AEW.
Well, he could be a future WWE star. We don't know.
Yeah, true. But it was good to see him get that win. I mean, you're talking about Dax Harwood. You're talking about a guy who is a former tag team champion, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW. That's a hell of a victory, and I'm glad that he was actually able to get a W on Wednesday.
And I think I read somewhere that Dax was the one who approached AEW and wanted to do this.
Okay.
So, kudos to him, but like they put on a heck of a match. Then after the match, all sorts of chicanery went on.
You know how much I love chicanery.
Oh yeah. That they sat there and they took like powder or ceremonial salts or whatever, threw it in Luchasaurus's eyes, beat up Jungle Boy and like handcuffed Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt to the rescue with a chair. Yes, he needed a chair, and I think he had a bunch of
chair.
Yeah, he is. But all around, really good segment, and putting Jungle Boy over, good stuff.
As your shirt says, this is such good shit.
It is. Another thing we found out on AEW this week is Sting's return to the ring is going to happen at AEW Revolution. He and Darby Allin are going to be tagging against Team Taz, and it looks like it's going to be a no-holds-barred match.
Wait, does this mean that we get to see Rip?
Rip will not be in appearance, okay. And Zeus will not be in appearance.
Well, obviously, Zeus.
Sad.
Unfortunately,
very
Zeus
sad.
Will not be able to appear again, which is very, very sad. It was a very, very sad day for the Brainless One. But
you know what? This is a good way to get Sting in the ring. He's been out of the ring for 6 years at this point, and with all his body's been through. Put him in a tag match, something that be a bit safer for him, and but also get people to buy into the pay-per-view.
Right. Because Sting's going to be somebody who's going to draw a lot of attention to the card, because a lot of people are going to see if Sting can actually still go after being out of action for as long as he has, and how his neck's going to hold up once he gets back in the ring.
Yeah. So beyond that, we had Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Surprisingly enough, I'm like, Eddie Kingston won. But the way they did it, they had a couple of things going on where Butcher and Blade had actually kind of taken Jake Roberts hostage and were kind of beating on him. And then Eddie Kingston ended up getting slipped brass knuckles and gave the backhand to Lance Archer and got the pin.
So I'm guessing now Lance Archer's a face. Is that what I'm understanding? Because they don't really promote this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, so 1 week he's a heel, and then it's like, oh, here he is now he's a face.
It's almost like that Mickey James heel turn from 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't still, or the Big Show heel and face turn that just happened in the last 30 seconds.
Wait, you can't be doing that. He'll block us on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. So there was that. And then we found out, it's not officially official, but it seems no doubt it's going to happen. We're going to get Cody Rhodes versus Shaquille O'Neal at AEW Revolution.
Shaq this.
Well, the thing with this, back in 1994 when Hulk Hogan debuted in WCW, they brought Shaq on board because Shaq was one of the biggest stars in the NBA. He loves wrestling. He go anywhere there's wrestling, that dude wants to be. He's been in WWE. He's been in WCW. He's now on AEW. But he loves wrestling and likes to be a part of it, just like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And
remember when Shaq took part in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal a few years back? And him and the Big Show had that little face-to-face in there. And then of course after they both got eliminated, they both have their arms around each other, like how awesome it was that Shaq was in there. And then there was the talks when they had WrestleMania at Orlando a couple of years back that they were actually planning on a Shaquille O'Neal versus Big Show match at WrestleMania, which I would have actually been on board with, because like the Big Show really has, of all the people you think about it, as much as I shit on the Big Show and justifiable because he's a 400+ pound pussy, but like I would have loved to have seen it because the Big Show's gotten the raw deal in fucking WrestleMania. I mean, he had to fight Akibono, and then he had to fight Floyd Mayweather.
By the way, not on the network anymore, most likely because Floyd Mayweather has some sort of thing in his contract that he had with WWE. The only other thing, personally, what I think they should do at WrestleMania 24 is edit that match out and then put it back on the network. That way we could see The Undertaker going against Edge, and then have referee Charles Robinson to the Ultimate Warrior theme song running down to the ring.
From what I've heard, I mean, it doesn't mean it's true or not, but like what I heard is that I guess the theme song that they lost copywriting agreements with, so that's the reason why WrestleMania 24 was taken off of the network.
Okay,
doesn't mean that that's right. I mean, it could also be a Mayweather thing. It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not even mad if that's the reason why, because I couldn't stand that match. I thought it was stupid at the time when they did it. So I wouldn't be mad if they actually got rid of that match permanently from WWE.
If that's the case, I mean, WWE will just do what they've done in the past. Like when they were having issues with Rick Derringer and using his rights, and they had to put in a new song instead of Demolition's theme song. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they'll just, if it's just a music rights thing, they'll just edit it in.
The same guy who sang Real American?
Yeah.
Has Demolition's theme.
That's Demolition.
I did not know that.
So
Rick Derringer should be in the Hall of Fame.
So yeah,
with
two of the greatest theme songs ever. All right, so Lloyd is chiming in saying AEW has trademarked Battle of the Belts, and I do like your theory there. The AEW versus Impact title for title at Double or Nothing.
Look,
I mean, it sounds like a good idea, and with what they're doing with Impact and trying to, I like the fact that AEW has partnered with another United States wrestling organization to try to, I think it builds both of them up, honestly, at the same time. I think it helps Impact out more because AEW has a bigger audience. But in general, I think it creates intrigue, like, a lot. Like, originally, remember when we talked a month or two ago, it sounded like it's a one-off thing where Kenny Omega shows up, and it's a one-off thing where the Good Brothers are going to show up. No, they keep showing up on each other's shows.
Now, freaking Private Party is the #1 contenders for the Impact Tag Team title. And look, and I didn't get a chance to last week because scheduling conflicts, so we weren't able to do the podcast last week. That's something I really wanted to bring up because the week prior they had that pay-per-view where I think it was Slammiversary, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever the hell it was.
Not Slammiversary.
Because I know it was a Bound for Glory. Because I know Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania, and they already had
Bound for Glory is. I want to say usually the December pay-per-view name. It used to be, I think, Final Destination. Anniversary is generally October. Bound for Glory is October, and Slammiversary is in summer.
Yeah, but whatever show it was they had a pay-per-view, and the main event, Hard to Kill. Thank you
very much, Christopher.
Appreciate that. They had a main event where it was Moose, and it was I want to say it was Chris Sabin or Alex Shelley. I know one of the two from Motor City Machine Gun, because they were both supposed to be there, and the other one wasn't able to go.
And we'll talk about that briefly.
And then they teamed up with Rich Swann, who happens to be the Impact Heavyweight Champion, going up against the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. And it's like, look, if you want to have that match, that's fine. You can have that match. You don't need Kenny Omega pinning Rich Swann. I thought that was really like bad judgment from Impact to have Kenny Omega, who is the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, pinning your World Heavyweight Champion. If he had pinned like whatever member of the Motor City Machine Gun that was in the match, there wouldn't have been any much that bit of a gripe. But the fact that Kenny Omega, outside of the company, I understand they got this new partnership going. I get it, but it's like it's bad. It's bad. It's a bad look for your company if your champion is losing clean. I don't even care if it is a 6-man tag match. Your champion shouldn't be losing clean to another champion in their own backyard.
The only thing I will say for that, I'm just talking business strictly, not booking.
Yeah.
I bet AEW said, all right, we'll help you because guess what? Impact needs the help from AEW. You want our help? All right, well, you need to make our guy look really good when he's on your TV, and by making him look really good and he's supposed to be the belt collector, he needs to beat their champion, and he needs to set up this thing where he will go against Rich Swann eventually, and maybe it will be this battle for the belts. And you know, is this setting up so Rich Swann gets his win back?
It's possible.
It's possible. We don't know. So since we don't know the totality of the story, you know me, I'm always like, all right, tell me the whole story, and then at the end, I'll make my judgment off that. I know you're more of like I don't like what I saw right now.
Well, my whole thing is you didn't bring this up. Now, what if I had the same issue with what had happened if Jon Moxley was still AEW World Champion? If obviously not with Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho is the GOAT of GOATs who have goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom. So Chris Jericho gets a pass with everything except for maybe smacking my mama. But would I be as pissed off if it was anybody else but Kenny Omega? How they make this whole big to do about this Kenny Omega thing with his over-the-top, disgustingly nauseating entrance.
I love his entrance.
And his music comes out, and Justin Roberts is talking and then coming down to the ring, Dave Meltzer's biggest wet dream. He might be best here, but he's even better in the Tokyo Dome. He's number 2 in your programs, but he's number 14 in the PWI rankings for 2020. The cleaner himself, Kenny Omega. That was not Justin Roberts. That was kind of like a little bit of...
Yeah, that's a little Gary Michael Capetta there. But
this is Sting.
Anyway, so Lloyd, as far as Moose beating Rich Swann, and you would rather see Moose versus Kenny Omega, I did see a thing this week where it said Moose's contract is up pretty soon. So if that's the case, and you want to see that match, Impact's got to put the money on the table for Moose to stay.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Moose does leave Impact when his contract expires, he's going to WWE. There is no question in my mind. 2 of his best friends work for WWE, and that's Apollo Crews and Ricochet. In fact, he's like Ricochet's roommate. So I could definitely see Moose coming to WWE. It makes a lot of sense.
Check out what Lloyd said about your boy Kenny Omega.
Well, why is this a surprise to people? Kenny Omega is overrated. What do I have to do, Jay? Do I have to go to freaking what's the name of that freaking apartment building in Norfolk and downtown where used to live at?
Yes.
Hague Towers. Am I gonna have to go at the top of Hague Towers and scream with a megaphone, a la freaking Jimmy Hart, that Kenny Omega is the most overrated wrestler? He's the most overrated wrestler of all time. End of discussion. Yes, he's a great in-ring performer. Dude can't cut a fucking promo. That's why he needs Don Callis to come and save his ass. Are you fucking kidding me? Kenny Omega is a fucking fuck. That's all he is. They made a big deal about fucking Christian because Christian never got pushed because Christian has a dirt face, which he does. He does look like a doofus. I mean, even his video game character had a doofus face. And it's the same thing with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega looks like he's about to fart every time you look at him. I mean, fuck this guy. He's so fucking overrated. I'm sick and tired of Kenny Omega. And why does this freaking 67-year-old virgin Dave Meltzer telling me what I should and shouldn't think is a good match or not, or who's a good wrestler? So because Dave Meltzer, this guy who claims to be the messiah and the guru of all professional wrestling, and he goes out there and says Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world, and he's even better when he's in the Tokyo Dome fighting Okada?
Yeah. You all right now?
Yeah, Chris Brown is right. I mean, Cornette has made an art out of freaking shitting on Kenny Omega, just like he has made an art out of shitting on Vince Russo, and that's another thing.
And he's been crapping on Jericho.
He told him to put the vodka bottle down. As much as I love Jericho, I have to agree with Cornette. Jericho just you look at Jericho when he had his at the end of his run with WWE, where he was really toned and he was still wrestling good. Now he looks like if I was out there with long blonde grayish hair, wearing makeup. And I can't believe I'm saying that and disrespecting a guy who's in my Rushmore, a guy that I love more than probably 99% of the wrestlers in the wrestling industry. The fact that I'm going to sit there and I'm going to throw shots at Chris Jericho.
All I could say about that is Chris Jericho's shot back at Cornette was perfect and was 100% on point, though, where he told Cornette, hey, you know what? I'm not going to respond back to him. I'm glad that the fact that I'm wrestling and he gets to comment on me helps him earn a paycheck for his family. And you know what? If Jericho was irrelevant, Cornette wouldn't bring him up.
Oh, no.
So what Jericho is saying is 100% true. If Jericho wasn't Jericho, Cornette would have nothing to talk about. So I will. And outside of that, that botch on the Lion Salt a couple weeks ago was terrible. This week he made up for it. He had a good Lion Salt, and he actually was able to get some momentum and but that botch was bad. Yeah,
it was almost as bad as the one he had when he was in WCW when he fought Mr. Perfect.
Yeah,
and Kurt Hennig actually had to put his legs up so he wouldn't break his neck.
Yeah,
and saved his life, and he even talks about that
in his book.
But and I will say this, Cornette really needs to get his head out of 1988. This isn't about the freaking 6'8", 300+ pound monsters that are main eventing. This is a guy who doesn't like Will Ospreay. This is a guy who doesn't like a lot of these people. He thinks Johnny Gargano is boring. And it's Johnny Gargano is better than any wrestler you ever managed. And that's including beautiful Bobby Eaton.
Don't tell Corey that.
Please. Corey still lays in bed at night crying, listening to Dido over the fact that James E. Cornette was the reason why the Montreal Screwjob happened.
Right.
Even though him and Vince Russo will get in a pissing contest over who actually was the person responsible for that.
Yeah.
But the pipe cleaner.
Yep.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's fucking funny. I love it. Oh, Lloyd, that was beautiful, man. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to start a revolution of the anti-Omega something. I don't know what I'll call it.
Okay, well, you figure that out. While you're figuring that out, I'm just going to touch on one more thing on AEW briefly. We had the Hangman Page going against Ryan Nemeth. For those who are in the know, Ryan Nemeth,
baby Dolph.
It is Dolph Ziggler's brother. So Ryan Nemeth getting a shot with AEW, but at the end of this match, after Hangman Page gets the win, Matt Hardy, you could tell, is trying to get him into the Matt Hardy brand or whatever it is that they're calling that. But I guess we'll see how all that goes. I don't know. I'd love to see Hangman Page the head of the Dark Order, personally, but
they could be called Team Tornado Slammers,
right?
Because they can slam a tornado. I'm sorry, no. Matt Hardy's the only one that can slam a tornado.
Yes, he's the only one that can slam a tornado.
I can slam a tornado. No, wrong.
So anyway, I'm not a huge fan of the current incarnation of Matt Hardy that we've seen so far, but as with me, it's like going, all right, let's see this flesh out a little bit more before I give a full yay or nay on that.
See, Chris, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think, and I've been talking about this for years, I don't think there's a person in the wrestling industry that sells a finisher better than Dolph Ziggler does. That's one of my favorite things that he does, because that's a craft like the selling aspect of it has kind of died over the years, and it's not the same like it used to be. Kind of like last night when I'm sorry to touch base briefly on that, but like last night how Daniel Bryan was selling the leg injury that he sustained in his match with AJ Styles, which went from a singles match to like an 11-on-12 handicap inferno
where people just randomly enter themselves. I mean, I guess it's similar to me entering myself into the Royal Rumble. You just show up and say, yeah, I'm in it. Yeah.
And like, I that's one of the things I actually do enjoy about Dolph Ziggler, because like Dolph Ziggler is the king of like selling finishers.
SummerSlam against Goldberg. I mean, like Goldberg does not, he's just older, and the force behind the spear is not what it was in the 90s. It's still good, but it's not what it was in the 90s or even the early 2000s. But Dolph Ziggler made it look like it was still that. He made, thank you for screwing this up, Kevin Dunn, last year. He made Edge's spear look really good last year. Thankfully, we had people going live on Instagram last year so we could actually see how well Dolph sold that.
Well, my big one for me was when he fought. Remember when he fought Zack Ryder for the U.S. title?
Yeah,
and he sold the Rough Rider, and like that was, he sold that perfectly. He sold every RKO he's ever eaten. I mean, the dude it's a craft that gets overlooked a lot over the years. And I'm not talking about like Shawn Michaels SummerSlam 2005 overselling. That's just a greed. I mean, I still love watching SummerSlam 05 for that reason.
I'm just going to put this out there right now. That could be a thing that gets into the Hall of Fame in 2021. That match.
It's possible.
We shall see. We've got many months ahead of time.
I mean, we could just talk about every time Shawn Michaels oversells, but then the whole Hall of Fame would be consistent of like nothing but Shawn Michaels, which would just shit out of Corey.
Yeah,
because like you think about like even when he ate the Geritron 5000 and he was on the ground like writhing in pain and like overselling the shit at it.
No, he was busted open. Like that blood was real.
I'm still convinced he oversold that a little too much.
Because he was bleeding a lot. That was the reason why they got rid of people getting busted open. That literally was why Vince said no more. The network didn't like it, and that was just because he legitimately cracked him into the screen. And that's in Jericho's book. So yeah. Anyway.
Okay, I did not know that was all that.
Oh yeah,
I because a lot of people like the big rumor about that, or not the real big rumor, but like the conspiracy about that was a lot of people were convinced when he ate the Geritron 5000 was the day that he became cross-eyed.
Chris, we're actually, I think right about now is about time for us to get into NXT, and I'm definitely psyched for TakeOver coming up. The way they're setting this up looks like we're going to be getting triple threat women's title match, and I think that's when the Dusty Classic ends.
I believe you're right on that. The Dusty Classic has been really good, and I'll tell you, Team MSK.
Yeah,
that's the team that was the Rascals.
Yeah,
I like those guys a lot. And one of the things that really stood out for me this week on NXT was their match against Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. That was a pretty solid match. And considering, because I don't think a lot of people expected Killian Dane and Drake Maverick to go very far, but like they had a solid showing in this week. A very hard hitting match. I was thoroughly entertained, and I'm glad that MSK, who I think is going to end up winning, I think they face the Grizzly Young Vets, who are one of my personal favorites.
Sure,
I think they're going to end up being in the finals against each other, and I'm going to be thoroughly entertained. And yeah,
so. One thing I like about MSK is. They're a tag team, and they use like tag team maneuvers, like in unique tag team maneuvers within their match. It's like otherwise, you're kind of, if you're watching a tag team match where they don't do that, it's like, I'm not going to say a glorified singles match, but it's nice to see that they have tandem offense. That's what one thing the Rockers I think really started to kind of push as a thing, because they did a lot of it. Because I mean, back in the day, Obviously, you had like Demolition with their ending move. Yes, that was 2 people. Legion Doom with their ending move. That was 2 people. But like during the match, they didn't really do anything that combined the 2 of them.
Another team that was really good at like doing a lot of tag team moves together was the Hart Foundation. Because Jim the Anvil and Bret Hart had really good chemistry together, and they worked really well as a tag team, and they did a lot of moves together where they did that stuff. Even like Men on a Mission is wow. I pulled that one out of my kidney.
Yeah.
Men on a mission. Man on a mission. Mo, Oscar, and Mabel, baby.
Stop.
Was that bad? I loved Men on a Mission, and they were back then to me what Crime Time was many years later, and what ended up being Enzo and Big Cass, a team that I thought should have had the tag team titles and never got them.
See, whenever I think of Men on a Mission, I think of Viscera, and then I think of his man boobs.
Oh God, yes.
So I mean, it takes me to that unpleasant place.
King Mabel.
Yeah, King Mabel. So, but you know, I'm glad that MSK got the win here, and I agree with you. They're going to be in the finals, and it will be against the Grizzled Young Veterans. Grizzled Young Veterans had their match on NXT this week. Who did they go against? They went against Kushida and Leon Ruff. You know what? Kushida, like the stuff that dude's able to do. Leon Ruff, too, for his part, like does really good. But in general, like Kushida to me, obviously, is the star of the 2 of them. But Grizzled Young Vets, in the middle of this match, part of them doing a tag team maneuver, as an homage to the LOD, they pulled out the Doomsday device and got a 2 count. No, I don't care that it wasn't the LOD doing the move. When you do a move where a dude gets clotheslined and then drops like 10 feet onto his head, that should be the end of you. You should not get up. No. Never, ever, never. Good match. Hated that. Hated that beyond belief.
You know how I feel about that.
So
I just think, you know, we've come a long way where we're in a time period, and this is part of the reason what the Undertaker was talking about, because he did an interview earlier this week where he says that wrestling, the product now is too soft because, you know, a lot of these guys who have finishers the way that they were are not finishers now. You know, back in the day, Hulk Hogan was taking people out with a leg drop. You know, Roddy Piper was putting people to sleep with a headlock. You know, the Warrior used to do a gorilla press and then drop somebody. Savage with the elbow. Now you got these things, you know, like now you got these moves, and it's like every other person does the super kick, you know, and it's just crazy. And it's like you got that fat fucking bitch, cupcake eating motherfucker, goddamn Kevin Owens stole the stunner. All the people, why they had to be Kevin Owens?
And why did Nia Jax get to steal the leg drop? Right?
It's probably the only move that she could probably do the least amount of damage doing.
Speaking of Nia Jax, briefly, and we'll get into it a little bit more, he almost killed Dana Brooke on Raw.
And what gets me too is that before that, they were talking about how she was, again, how they have people. Okay,
they went and put people to NXT to help them improve. And she wasn't one of them. How many people has she injured? Not talking about hurt, injured. And like goes up to do a power bomb and like it almost like turned into something more similar to like the Ron Simmons spine buster.
Yeah.
Where like, but like when she threw Dana Brooke down, my God, I was like, oh. She's going to injure another one. Another person's going to get hurt. And you know what? WWE, that's a
That's a lawsuit that can happen.
It is.
Because it's going to be, because you know it's
I'm sure a lot of people, like, there's been so many things about people complaining about working with her.
Yep. And it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to get either seriously injured where they have to retire or they're going to die in the ring. And then WWE is going to have this giant lawsuit on their hands. And then they're going to be like, well, I guess The Rock can't get us out of this shithole.
Yeah. So.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to hold my composure. because I don't want to go off on Nia Jax because it's how many more times do I have to beat a dead horse? And that's what it's like. It's like wrestling a dead horse. I think a dead horse would actually be safer in the ring than Nia Jax.
Oh, no doubt. Can't do any harm. So, Chris Brown, as far as the Doomsday device goes, you would think that Triple H, who is an old school dude, would be more like, yeah, this needs to be the end of the match. You can't sit there and not have this be something to a false finish.
Chris Brown called her out on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't even just the fact that what she did to Kairi Sane, where she almost injured Kairi Sane.
She did that twice.
She almost killed Charlotte. She almost killed Bailey. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't. They're doing it, Jay. They planted the seed has been planted, and now they're just adding fertilizer and water to it, and they just want to see the Brainless One explode. I think that's what it is. People just want to see the Brainless One explode. And I'm not going to go there. I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to stoop to normal brainless levels, and I'm just going to.
So speaking of things that cause me issues, NXT did yet another thing this week that bothered me deeply. We had the NXT Tag Team Champions losing in a non-title match to Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly. As much as I know these are two of the top single stars, I love that the story that they've been weaving with O'Reilly and Balor and with the Undisputed Era and Pete Dunne and all this stuff. Don't have the tag team champions lose in non-title matches. I know, again, two top single stars, but these guys are your tag team champions. They should not be losing. Should not.
Now, because Finn Balor was one of the two people, would it have been less of an issue for you if Finn Balor had teamed up with Johnny Gargano? Because he's the North American champion, where you had the tag team champions going up against the two main singles champions.
No, I just don't think they should be. They are a tag team. They're tag team specialists. They should be better than the singles wrestlers coming together as a makeshift team. Now, I know O'Reilly is known for being a tag wrestler.
One of the greatest tag wrestlers of all time.
But he's known for being a tag wrestler with Bobby Fish.
Yep. So
if it was like Undisputed Era, O'Reilly and Fish going against that.
Wait,
I even with that, no, they're your tag team champions. They do not lose.
Wait, since Bobby Fish was not there,
he was there.
He was there. I didn't see him.
So basically, what ended up happening is at the end of this, there was all sorts of ruckus.
A melee.
So Balor and O'Reilly win, but out came Pete Dunne, and then
Undisputed Era. Dunne,
Lorcan, and Birch were beating on Balor and O'Reilly, and out came Bobby Fish and Adam Cole, baby!
That's what I was going for. I was going to say, what if it was Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, baby? No, it doesn't have the same when I do it by myself. Sad.
So, but you had Cole and Fish come out to the rescue. But just in general, you know me. Do not beat your damn champions. Like, they treat any title that is not the World Heavyweight Championship as if it's like a joke. And I hate it.
Well, the thing, Lloyd, with what Jay is talking about is like with the makeshift tag teams. It was kind of like when they put together like Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, and they had them win the tag team titles. Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan just randomly put them together and win the tag team titles
from teams that have been like established. Like a team like the Viking Raiders have always been a team.
Yeah,
they should be a better, more cohesive unit than somebody that you've just put together that night. Now, like the Bar is one of those like rare circumstances where they started out makeshift and then became a thing, or just like Omega and Hangman Page were like a makeshift team, but ended up becoming quite a good unit.
But they worked together because they were also part of the Elite back in Japan. So
but even so, they made it work. Yeah. But I don't like the idea of like you've got this established tag team going against a team that's teaming for the first time, and they beat them. It makes your tag team titles look worthless, meaningless. You are not the best tag team if you just got beat. So yeah.
I was about to say, don't badmouth the Bar. That's the greatest tag team. That's the greatest makeshift tag team of all time.
Actually, the Mega Powers.
Actually, no. I actually thought about this.
The Mega Powers.
You know who was actually a makeshift tag team that actually turned into a pretty solid tag team? The Dudley Boys. Because Bubba Ray and Devon hated each other and feuded in ECW, and then Paulie came up with the idea of putting the two of them together because you had the technical wrestler in Devon and you had the powerhouse in Bubba Ray, and it worked. And they went on to be, in my opinion, the most decorated tag team of all. Not the greatest, but the most decorated tag team.
Well, there's no opinion there. That's a fact.
And and they're arguably one of the top 2 tag teams of all time.
Yeah.
As a tag, I mean, it's them and Legion of Doom or Road Warriors,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
But
well, Lloyd, obviously every team, you don't sit there and go to wrestling school and going, oh, we're a tag team. But I'm talking about what are they known for? Viking Raiders were known as a tag team. Road Warriors were known as a tag team. And
Sheamus is known for kicking Daniel Bryan's head off of his skull in 18 seconds of WrestleMania 28, whereas Cesaro was known as the dude to win the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
FTR are known as a tag team. They don't want to do anything else. They want to be tag team wrestlers.
Right.
The Young Bucks are the Young Bucks.
The Usos.
You've got tag teams that are established, that are a thing. Obviously, the New Day came together, but they became a team. They weren't sitting there the first week they were together. They didn't beat the tag team champions.
Right.
It wouldn't make any sense. And that's why I say don't have your tag team champions lose. Have a makeshift team come together, and you could have them have a close match. You could have them even win by DQ, but don't have them beat your tag team champions.
More so, from what Jay is saying, is the teams who have worked together for years, who have a chemistry together, teams who have worked better together. I mean, if you think about it logically, why is it a team that knows each other probably better than they know their own family members going up against 2 random dudes who have never teamed together and are losing to them? That's where Jay is getting at. And it's yes, I understand that, Kyle, especially because I know that Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor have had this great rivalry and they've had some great matches down in NXT. At the end of the day, they've never teamed up together because Kyle O'Reilly's been mainly teaming up with Bobby Fish or with Roderick Strong because, Bobby Fish has had some injury issues. So the fact that he knows nothing about Finn Balor other than what he's seen going one-on-one with him against a team like Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, who have been working together as a team for almost 2 years now, if not longer. And they're the tag team champions. And these guys work together and they travel together. And that's how that's the big difference between a formidable team and a makeshift tag team. Yes, I understand that there is an aspect where people just become a tag team, just like you said.
Team Hell No.
The Team Hell No that worked out really good. The Bar, the New Day was a bunch of singles competitors that really were kind of floundering in the mid-card.
And then Xavier Woods actually went to Vince McMahon and said, hey, give me a month. We'll get this to work.
It's I get that, but it's you do have teams like the Legion of Doom that came in day one and worked together. You had teams like the Hart Foundation that did the same thing, and the Rockers that did the same thing, and the Midnight Express. Teams that have had success because they had chemistry together.
But to put a period on this, I'm sorry, your tag team champion should not lose to a makeshift team, ever. If it's a tag team title match and they lose, all right, you got new champions. I hate the non-title matches.
And they should definitely should not be losing a 2-on-1 handicap match to anybody. Unless it's Andre the Giant.
So
that's the exception.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So we had Tony Storm call out Io Shirai at the beginning of the show. Io Shirai comes out to respond. The two of them get into a ruckus, and out comes Mercedes. And in the end, Io Shirai ends up coming out on top and standing tall. Io has done awesome with anything that they've given her. And I'm wondering if this is going to be the end of her reign coming up. If that's the case, I don't know if this means main roster call up after the after WrestleMania, but you know, and I don't know. It definitely looks like there's going to be a three-way match at the next takeover between Toni Storm, Mercedes Martinez, and Io Shirai. And at least in my view, I right now, my money would say I think Toni Storm might be winning the title.
I think she's got the best chance of doing it of the two. I do know that with the fact that Mercedes Martinez was supposed to be part of Retribution, and then they probably told her name was like Cumstain or some shit like that, and she was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go do my own thing down in NXT. I could just be, sitting in catering than be called something retarded on Retribution."
Right.
But,
I enjoy the fact that she went to bat for herself and said, "Yeah, this ain't working for me."
She probably took one look at Shane Thorne and went, "No, I'm going back to NXT.
Slapjack.
Your name is Slapjack? Bye."
Yeah, I'm out of here. So, yeah. Slapjack. Gotta be kidding me.
Is it ever not going to be funny?
Speaking of Slapjack, this week on Monday Night Raw.
All right, I'm done. I'm retiring from the podcast. I cannot believe we just had a Slapjack segue. That's. I'm done.
Slapjack went against Xavier Woods this week. So one thing. One thing Ali came out to when this match happened was he was talking about I guess Kofi Kingston isn't going to be in the Royal Rumble this week. Or this year. He's not medically cleared, but you know who's taking his place? I am.
Slapjack.
I pray that what? I hope that there is a moment in this Royal Rumble where we get Retribution all in there. It's going to be Slapjack, Slap Nuts, Mace,
Slap Ass, Slapjack, Slap Nuts, Slap Ass, and Mustafa Ali.
And they just keep on talking about Slapjack and his face mask and.
I actually had
Retribution, thank you. You know what? Vince McMahon, thank you for screwing up this story so badly that it has become just a punchline for everything we say and do here.
I feel like Bobby Heenan. Tony Schiavone's talking about Hacksaw Jim Duggan being a smart man.
He's a highly intelligent.
I don't think I've laughed this hard on the podcast since the dog splashed the cat. It was like Titus O'Neil with the greatest Royal Rumble. We kept talking and just I can't.
So I hope there's a moment similar to 10 years ago when CM Punk with the new Nexus just kept on beating on everybody who came into the Royal Rumble next. I hope that it's going to be Ali with Slapjack and Mace, and yeah,
Jay,
we're going to see a great moment at the Royal Rumble. Maybe Slapjack, like they said, maybe we're going to have Slapjack versus Jeff Jarrett at the Rumble pre-show.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
You know how I was telling you before the podcast that the one person I did not want to see tomorrow in the Royal Rumble was the Big Show. Do you know who number 2 is?
Who's number 2?
Everybody else in Retribution. But most importantly, I can't stress this enough, I really don't want to see Slapjack. Because
why?
Every time he comes out like he's got this so over the top retarded entrance. Like he just does this thing and it's like, dude, what the I mean, they all have fucking stupid fucking entrances, but
poor Dominic Dijakovic.
I know he's gonna overcome this. I mean, probably when he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame and they're like, yeah, I mean, it was you start off bad and then you get teamed up with Slapjack.
And Slapjacks.
Oh man.
So
Teabag. That's his name, Teabag. Oh, Dio Madden does some weird ass shit when he goes in the ring too. Like I can't. Do they sell merchandise for Retribution? Has Retribution sold one shirt yet? This isn't like when Zack Ryder was.
Hey, you know what? Maybe they have a slapjack T-shirt and you can get one free.
Hold on, I'm going to check right now. This is important. This is important shit. I need to find this out.
It's such good shit. All right, so one thing that was the theme of this week in WWE programming is we got an awful lot of singles matches that turned into tag team matches, playa six tag match players, and then 8-man tag match players, and then 9-man tag matches, and then 10-man tag matches. Like, that's all they kept on doing between that and having gauntlet matches. That's what they kept on doing, and it was just to kill time. And I understand at this time of year, you want to have all your top superstars as healthy as they possibly can be, so they put them in tag matches so they don't get injured before the show. Have you found out about a slapjack?
Their merchandise. First of all, they don't have any like single wrestler like the Hurt Business. The Hurt Business has a T-shirt.
Is there a slapjack shirt?
No, but look at how terrible these shirts are for Retribution. It looks like a 6th grader designed them. Which means Slapjack designed them.
After he did his arts and crafts with the paper plate and catering, he then designed the logo for Retribution.
I remember that now. I should have known better because the last time I looked on there, I was like, I wonder if Retribution has any merchandise because I was going to buy you a Slapjack shirt. I was going to buy you and myself.
Hey,
and
you know what? We could custom design these suckers for ourselves.
Jay,
that could be a Christmas gift from me to you. Earlier than it needs to be. And you know what? I'm going to take the paper plate, and that's going to be part of the logo.
Jay.
And maybe, you know what? The cutouts in the paper plate, it'll be Slap on one side and Jack on the other side. And then there's going to be like a big, it's going to be great.
You've got teabagged by a slap nuts courtesy of Retribution shit. Oh, my God. It's the greatest, shittiest thing they've ever done.
Thank you, WWE.
Next to the Mountie.
So
I love the Mountie. It should be a Hall of Famer, by the way.
He should be.
Jacques Rougeau.
All right, so we had a Charlotte versus Shayna Baszler match. Obviously, this is part of the hype up for Charlotte and Asuka defending their women's tag team titles against Shayna and Nia at the Royal Rumble. And we had Charlotte win via DQ because Charlotte was about to get the figure 8 locked in, and then Nia Jax came and dropped her ginormous leg on top of Charlotte, which caused DQ, and a melee ensued after that, and then Teddy Long came out. No, Teddy Long did not come out, but we had a 6-woman match made playa, and it was Nia and Shayna along with Lacey Evans, and they were going against. Look, I'm so disheveled by all this
Slapjack
stuff. Yeah. Charlotte, Mandy, and Dana Brooke.
Well, it had to be Dana Brooke because that was the match where Nia almost killed her in.
Yes, it was. So Nia Jax got the pinfall on Dana Brooke after she almost killed her legit. But, you know, honestly, this, again, setting up mostly for the Royal Rumble, but the... You all right, Brainless One?
Les and Wolf would be women's tag team champions. I'm done. Because the worst part is the chick with no eyebrows and the chick who has Nia Jax's wrestling skill is about as existent as fucking Shayna Baszler's eyebrows.
Great.
Spoiler alert: Shayna Baszler doesn't have any eyebrows.
Right. She stole them from Whoopi Goldberg. So yeah. So that was that. But, like, you know, they keep on doing the stuff. Ric Flair and Charlotte and Lacey Evans there. And, like, I don't know. The Ric Flair stuff, it's like the old man stuff at this point, but apparently WWE keeps wanting to roll with that. So
I'm so tired of that freaking storyline as it is. And I know that you said that, you should wait out to see what, how this all comes together and everything.
I can't
Jay,
see a positive ending to this, except for okay, if this brings more eyeballs to Lacey, because they introduced Rick into this, and hopefully at the end of this Charlotte portion of the storyline, the Nature Boy exits back out and Lacey goes on her own. But if they used Ric Flair to be part of a thing to get Lacey against Charlotte and to elevate Lacey, okay. I just don't like how they're doing this.
They don't need
story.
Why is Ric Flair there? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Why is Ric Flair, who's 8,000 years old, and it should have been the first person to get the vaccine because he's the oldest person in the world.
Yeah. Remember when he named Dirt?
Woo!
Yeah.
With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest day of my life.
So, yeah.
Woo!
So, there was that. Then we had an episode of the VIP Lounge that ended up getting interrupted by a goat. R-Truth.
That was funny shit, man. That was some funny shit. I fucking love I love R-Truth. Every time he's on the television. And it was funny too, because I told you I was watching the 2016 Royal Rumble a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And he came out in the Royal Rumble and grabbed a ladder.
Yeah.
And climbed the ladder in the middle of the Royal Rumble. And I'm like, God damn, R-Truth, you are the fucking man. I fucking love you.
The thing I did love about R-Truth this week is he ended up having a match against AJ Styles to try to qualify for the Royal Rumble. By the way, I guess everybody to qualify for the Royal Rumble has to go through AJ Styles, whether you're Drew Gulak, Daniel Bryan, or
R-Truth.
R-Truth in his match against AJ Styles did the 5-knuckle shuffle and did the AA. So he could pay homage to his childhood
hero of John Cena. John Cena is my friend.
R-Truth.
I still think he should have been world heavyweight champion when they had the chance to put the title on him.
Yeah,
that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
because he would have ran with it. And he would have been entertaining as fuck.
So, but with Hurt Business, they were giving, I forgot what it was. Was it a necklace that said THB?
Yeah.
And Truth came out and said, "Thank you so much. I know that meant Truth. Happy birthday."
He said that. I fell off. I almost fell off the couch. I laughed so hard. Oh man. That's why it's funny.
Yeah.
I just want to be entertained at the end of the day. And that's entertaining. And R-Truth is the king of that.
Yeah. So, so R-Truth was out there for that, but in the end, this whole segment was there for
and Cowboy fans, Lloyd. Sorry,
Matt Riddle to come out, and he ended up doing the knee to MVP's face. And Matt Riddle later on in the show was having a gauntlet match against 3 members of the Hurt Business,
Cedric
and if
Alexander,
he won all
Shelton
3 of
Benjamin,
those, he would end up getting a U.S. title opportunity in the future. And spoiler alert, he did end up winning all 3 matches.
That's what goats do, Cousin Jay.
But first match was against Shelton Benjamin. Longer match, but in the end goes over. His match with MVP was you sneezed and it was over. And then, he beats Cedric, and Lashley comes in, beats the holy heck out of him, puts him in the Hurt Lock, and there's conflicting reports out there as when this match will happen. I've seen one today saying that this will be on the Royal Rumble, Matt Riddle versus Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title.
And I've gone on Wikipedia because that's where the official card is for tomorrow, and it's the same 6 matches that have been announced already, and there's no U.S. title match. Is it possible?
I think the U.S. title match is going to be on it. I think it might be a pre-show. It might be a pre-show stopper. But
hell, they could have had that match today. Instead of having, Natty Neidhart versus Tamina Snuka for number 30 in the Women's Rumble, they could have had the U.S. title match today. And then we could have had Shucky Ducky Quack Quack. Right. We're still getting that anyway. But
well, do you want to talk about that while you brought it up?
So WWE has announced, at first it was supposed to be they were going to announce number 1 and number 2 in the men's Rumble, in the Women's Royal Rumble, and they were going to announce number 30 in the men's. And then they've decided to swap it up, and the first 2 entrants in the men's are going to be announced today on Backstage, where Renee Young is actually coming back to work, which I thought was actually rather interesting. And then they're going to have a match between Tamina Snuka and Natty Neidhart to determine who is number 30. So we will actually find out who 1 and 2 are for the men's and who is going to be number 30 for the women's. And I think my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is that whoever's number 30 in the men's is going to be a surprise entrant, because that's why they switched it. So which means somebody I don't think Edge is going to come out as 30. If Edge didn't announce himself on Raw, which he did this week, is that Edge cut a promo and then said, he talked about last year coming back and all that stuff, cut a really good promo, because Edge is still one of the best promos in the business.
Well, and what he does is he adds some reality to it, and he adds a certain intensity to his promos, and it builds up throughout the promo. And when he talked about getting injured, I think it was Backlash, his match against Orton, and he talked about I thought the stakes were big last year, but they've never been bigger, and talking about how I think he said, Henry Ford said, if you believe you can and you can't believe you can't, you're always right.
Yep.
So he's like, well, I believe I can. And the fact that he brought talking about his mom, and my mom would tell me, you go out there and do this. So between all that and the intensity he had at the end, it was fantastic. And if they were in front of fans, I think he would have been a surprise entrant again, but because, it's the Thunderdome. All right, well, let's just have Edge on TV this week, and let's have him cut a promo to hype him returning at the Rumble again.
I got a crazy tinfoil hat theory for who number 30 is going to be tomorrow.
So, but we will get to that in a little bit.
Yeah. So, damn, that one came from my freaking soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very beginning of Raw this week, we had Drew McIntyre come out, and he was having a face-to-face with Bill Goldberg. But one of the things McIntyre started out with was he kind of cut a promo talking about, going through COVID and, having very minor symptoms, and said within day 4, he was able to get 100% back to his workout routine. But then kind of talked about Goldberg and how Goldberg kind of, had this massive streak. And the last thing, a power person does is lose their power. And how Goldberg has started this new streak where it's when he comes back, he wins the title. But McIntyre's this time ain't going to happen. But instead of outcoming Goldberg, out came Miz and Morrison. I go back and forth with Miz and Morrison with what they've been doing with them lately. I've enjoyed the heck out of what they've done in the last, probably month and a half. Once they kind of finished with the Otis angle, and now that they're doing all this silly stuff with the Money in the Bank, I'm enjoying what they're doing. But when Miz and Morrison came out, and Miz and Morrison just kind of talking about, hey, what do you think is going to happen at the end of your match? I think both of you guys are probably going to be in not the greatest shape. What's going to happen after that? And then Morrison's going, oh, the two of us are going to beat the heck out of you. And then maybe I cash this in. So I like the fact that they're still, teasing about this cash in, although Miz and Morrison, they keep on barely winning matches where it's a handicap match. But it plays in perfectly to the characters they've been playing. But in the middle of all this, Goldberg's music hits. Goldberg comes out, and he and McIntyre kind of get in each other's faces. Mm-hmm. You know, Goldberg more or less just said, McIntyre, you're next. And then you see, my favorite little nuance to this is like, while the two of them are having this stare off, and after Goldberg says that, Miz is like in the background with the Money in the Bank briefcase, like with this stupid look. And you knew Miz and Morrison were out there to eat a claymore
and a spear.
And it was beautiful. I enjoyed seeing that. I thought overall good segment, not great, but fun and I am actually looking forward to this match. I think after, you know, some of the stuff with Goldberg, especially with that Undertaker match a couple of years ago, you know, he doesn't want to go out there and embarrass himself. He doesn't want to tarnish his legacy by having like 2 matches every year and like looking bad. But, you know, Goldberg, you know, for his age, still looking super jacked. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking forward to this match being, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It's going to be a 5-minute match, but I'm excited to see it, excited to see where it goes. I just don't want it to be similar to like the match that we saw with Goldberg and Braun last year at WrestleMania. I hope it's better than that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm one of the ones that I'm not really that excited for, because I'm just the way that they built it. Like, you had a perfect opportunity. You know, you have Randy Orton on the Legends Night going out and shitting on every freaking legend that he can get his freaking, you know, come across and everything. And then you have Goldberg come out and say that Drew McIntyre is the one that's actually disrespecting the Legends. And I'm like, bro, you had an opportunity. You could have done Lesnar. You could have done Goldberg versus Randy Orton. Why is the 50-something-year-old Goldberg still getting title matches? And I read something online that brought it, and it was a very, very valid point. Goldberg was less over in his run in WCW than he was more over in WCW. Because like around the 1998 and further on, people got so tired of Goldberg that they just started pumping in the Goldberg chants because nobody wanted to see Goldberg. And his last match in WWE, when he was that first run in WWE before he came back, you know, for his kid and all that stuff to fight Lesnar, when he fought Lesnar at WrestleMania 20, I believe it was.
20.
They booed him out of the building.
Well, they both booed him and Lesnar out of the building.
They booed them both out of the building, but they booed the face out of the building. So I just, you know, Goldberg was a nice attraction all those years ago, 20 plus years ago. The streak was tremendous. That moment he had when he beat Raven for the U.S. title was nice. When he beat Hogan at the Georgia Dome to become the world heavyweight champion was such an awesome moment. But it's like it's run its course. After that, he jumped the shark.
I'm sorry. I enjoyed when he first came back to WWE in 2016, was it? When he beat Lesnar at Survivor Series in like a minute, and then their match at WrestleMania 33. I loved those matches. And his match against Dolph at SummerSlam, I can't believe that's not like one of your like top 5 SummerSlam matches because it was a squash.
I did enjoy it, but I mean,
he's been very hit and miss on his way back. I loved when he was in the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago. You know, I thought you got to see him in the ring against people that you wouldn't ordinarily get to see him in the ring against.
Right.
So you know, again, it's been a little bit uneven, but, you know, that's what happens when you get older, and hopefully he doesn't concuss himself before a match.
Sorry, that's funny.
So I'm looking forward to the match. I'm not saying the build-up has been the greatest, but I'm looking forward to the match.
Fair enough.
So, all right, so then we had, for the main event of the evening, we had Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. And
I fucking love this.
You know, what they did with this, it looked like Alexa was about to win the title.
Yeah.
And lights go out, and she went from being dressed as regular Alexa Bliss to like dressed in this like crazy Alexa fiend emo outfit. How they did that quick switch over, I don't know.
And you've been in television for a very long time.
It was impressively quick. And then Randy Orton coming out. And this is something we don't see too much on WWE TV. They don't want to have, man-on-woman violence. But as far as this storyline goes, like with all the things Alexa has done to Orton, like caused him to, be the Viper and like, all right, you're going to go there? I'm going to go there too. And we ended Monday Night Raw with an RKO from Randy Orton on Alexa Bliss. Asuka gets to DQ victory. The only thing for me that's a little strange with this, originally the idea was we were going to get like the Firefly Funhouse match at Rumble. And we're not getting that. It was strange to end Raw, your go-home show for the Royal Rumble, with that. I mean, obviously, that means during the Rumble, we're going to get The Fiend and Randy Orton into fisticuffs at some point. They'll probably eliminate each other.
I liked your idea that you pitched earlier about how we could possibly see the three faces of Wyatt at the Rumble. I as much as believe me, I would love to see that. And as much as Mick Foley would love to see that, I think we're about a year away on that. I think next year will be the year we get, Firefly Funhouse Wyatt, and then either a World's Wyatt, and then we get the Fiend, and then he can just rip through it next year. Yeah. This year and because of how he's been handled since he became the Fiend, there's only two scenarios for him to come back at the Rumble. He's either going to fuck with Orton or he's going to fuck with Oldberg. So.
He could possibly do both.
Why not both?
So, all right. So that was Monday Night Raw. Moving. Yeah. Well, Edge was good. McIntyre was good.
I know.
And almost everything else was kind of, R-Truth.
Oh, R-Truth is always good.
Yeah.
So is Hurt Business.
They are. And I honestly did not mind them losing the gauntlet match. It's continuing to feed into the storyline. So, all right. So we had Bianca Belair going against Bayley. One of the things, at least for the Women's Rumble, it seems like a little bit more clear-cut of who could possibly win this thing. And it seems like the smart money at this point is on Bianca Belair. They're really, pushing her up and pushing her forward. I wouldn't mind seeing her win. She had a great performance. I think it was last year in the Rumble and eliminated a lot of people. And you know what? She is an incredible specimen as far as athletics, solid in the ring. She needs to get a bit better with her mic skills and developing the character a bit more, but they've been doing stuff to help develop that lately. So, Rome wasn't built in the day. Roman wasn't built in the day, and neither will Bianca Belair, but this could be a big push forward. The fact that she beat Bayley, who was the SmackDown Women's Champion for over a year, that's a big feather in her cap, pushing her forward.
And I'll tell you right now, I didn't like the fact that Bianca won last night, because you always talk about what is the one thing that we always talk about heading into pay-per-views is what did people do on the go-home show. And usually the person who's last person standing is not the one that usually goes over in the pay-per-view. So the fact that Bianca did go over on Bayley last night led me to believe that Bianca will not be the one that wins the Rumble tomorrow.
So I think that's generally true for singles matches, but it's different when it comes to the Rumble. Like a lot of times they don't have the person who ends up winning the Rumble lose the time before, but we will find out tomorrow.
So by that, yeah. Never mind. Yeah. There we go. Have another one, Brainless One.
Of Baron Corbin and we had Dominic going against Baron Corbin. You know what? Really well in the ring. The fact that they're utilizing his dad as part of building up Dominic, building up this storyline with Baron Corbin, you know, Corbin going over like cleanly in this match. Good. Like Corbin needs to occasionally win. He can't just continually, you know, either completely have nefarious tactics or like lose. Otherwise, he loses all credibility. So whenever he loses, it doesn't elevate anybody.
Right.
So Dominic being, you know, a newbie, and hopefully they're slowly building this up. Like, again, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. The end game for this should be Dominic versus Rey Mysterio. I don't know if it happens this year or if it happens next year, but that should be the end game for this whole thing. You see the little things where like Rey got ticked off at his son when he went against Baron Corbin, and his son distracted him. Rey didn't get involved here until the end.
And one of the things that really drove me nuts about that match last night is the fact that they kept panning to Rey on the broadcast. And it's like, yeah, every once in a while showing him being like the concerned father, that's one thing. But it seemed like every 10 to 12 seconds, it's like, oh, we got to show Rey. Oh, we got to show Rey. Oh, we got to show Rey. Look at Rey's face. Look at Rey's face. Look at Rey's face. And I'm like, I was ready to drive down the Tropicana field and shove my foot up a freaking Kevin Dunn's ass. I just give me 5 fucking minutes with the Bucktooth Beaver. That's all I want. 5 minutes alone in a locked room with the Bucktooth Beaver. I'll tell you right now, he won't be doing that shit ever again.
DeKalen, we will definitely be getting into our picks for the Rumble shortly. We're going to finish up with SmackDown. Thanks for tuning in, though. And if you guys are liking what you're seeing, hearing, make sure you like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we are at the FN Marks. What?
Somebody said that, hey, you two beautiful bastards. I don't see any beautiful. I'm not a beautiful bastard. I must be talking about. You must have seen 2 of yous, I guess. Because I don't see. Where's the other one?
Our good friend Gags the Clown, FN Marks Hall of Famer, tuning in. We always appreciate him. You know what?
That was fun.
You know what we need to have? We need to have Gags the Clown versus the Fiend.
No, wrong. We need Gags the Clown versus Doink the Clown in a battle of the clowns.
Well, we'll have to have the non-original Doink the Clown. We could have the Brooklyn Brawler Doink the Clown.
Well, obviously we can't have Big Josh.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not in this world anymore. So
he's about as alive. Never mind. I'm gonna
anyway.
Stop.
He's not as alive.
He's with a couple of buddies.
Yeah. Anyway, you know that's an interesting idea about Dominic eliminating Rey from the Rumble. You never know.
If Dominic's in the Rumble, I'm going to be upset because he's, from what I've seen, yes, Dominic looks good in the ring. Dominic does look really good in the ring for somebody who never really went to developmental, and he was basically trained by his dad. Nothing against his dad.
I mean, who would you rather have him train with? He's got one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
He's got the greatest luchador wrestler, in my opinion. He's the greatest cruiserweight, whatever you want to call him. It's Rey Mysterio. I have a lot of respect for Rey, but it's like for somebody who wasn't trained by, WWE, he didn't go to NXT. He didn't get a chance. He just gets thrown into the ring, and it's like he's still a little green to me. He's got a lot of.
He could get smoother.
He's got some moves that look really good, but there's a lot of aspects of his game plan that he needs to work on, and it's going to take him some time. And I'm not expecting it to happen overnight because, I mean, I said the same thing about Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman has gotten better in the ring. The same thing with The Miz. The Miz just, it took a long time for The Miz to have it click. So I think it's going to be a bit before Dominic gets to that point where he's going to be like, oh, yeah, Dominic's actually really fucking good. He needs a mask too, though. He's ugly as
all that being said, you did mention the name Braun Strowman, and we did get Braun Strowman to reappear after his indefinite suspension on SmackDown.
So last night, at the start off the show, Daniel Bryan cut a promo. Daniel Bryan was cutting a promo talking about the Royal Rumble, not knowing when the next opportunity is going to be because, he's had a pretty good run in WWE. Out comes AJ Styles and I think Amos, or whatever the hell the dude's name is, who sounds like a friendly monster, by the way, when he talks. Oh, I think so. And I'm like, bro, no. But, so they set up for Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles because now they have their new stupid fucking thing where it's like this quarterly show switch or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, of course it is because it's stupid. So, of course, it's going to work for WWE. So we get ourselves Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles.
Are you going to complain about that?
No, because I'm never going to complain.
Because you're complaining about it. Honestly, you just complained about the idea of the quarterly switch.
I don't like the quarterly switch, but I do like the fact that we got AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan last night. Because like I was telling you, I don't know when the next time we're going to get Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles.
It may be never.
And last night might have been the last opportunity for that. And it just seemed like they were just throughout the show because the Miz and Morrison showed up from Raw on SmackDown, and they had a confrontation with Big E. And obviously Big E is feuding with freaking Sami Zayn, who claims to be the real Intercontinental Champ. I'm sorry, you're right.
Big E, once again, with the killer sweatshirt, had gremlins. Thank you, Big E. Thank you.
But we have the GOAT, Sami Zayn coming out there. And and during the match, AJ Styles is fighting Daniel Bryan, and Sami Zayn's out there with a megaphone, and he's talking all this nonsense. And Cesaro is with them and everything. And then and then Big E gets in there, and all this stuff starts happening. And then all of a sudden,
something's happening
during the match. Sami Zayn and all of them start attacking Daniel Bryan and going after Big E and everything. And then to even the odds, here comes Shinsuke Not going to work here anymore. Nakamura comes out and evens the odds. You have that little stare down between him and Cesaro. And it looks like, are these two going to fight? Because they were just tag team champions, yada, yada, yada. So then we go to commercial break, and I'm like, we got ourselves a 6-man tag. Playa. Holy shnikes. I've just been Omega'd.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to do it right now. I'm going to take this time and opportunity to wish a very happy birthday to F.M. Marks Hall of Famer, Nicholas Burnett, a.k.a. Don't Eat Brown Snow. Happy birthday, dude. So they come back from commercial break, and we have this 6-man tag match. And then all of a sudden, the Miz and Morrison come out there, and they get involved in this. And then there's another melee. And then the thing that made me the happiest was the man who helped even those odds was the Dozer, baby. Otis Dosovich comes out. And the one thing I will say about this is that everybody that was involved in that match had some kind of connection with each other and everything. And it's just like, it seemed like, it's like Dozer has unfinished business with the Miz and Morrison, and Nakamura has unfinished business with whoever, and Sami Zayn's got unfinished business with Big E and all that stuff. And it was just a bunch of shenanigans. And now we have a 5-on-4
match,
handicap match. It wasn't really
called a handicap. You know what? It was a shameful thing.
Lobster head. But and it was great too because then that just turned into a situation where it was a melee and Daniel Bryan was looking for a tag, and all of a sudden Sheamus's music comes out and he comes running out to the ring. He gets the tag, and I'm like, wait. Sheamus wasn't even in this match. And now he's just getting tagged in randomly. We didn't get a restart with the bell or anything. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Sheamus comes in there, and then everybody starts hitting their freaking moves. And I'm going to tell you, as much as I love Otis Dosovich, the Caterpillar has to go.
It's fine to get people hyped up. It's just like the Worm back in the day, or Ballin for MVP. The crowd gets hyped up about it, but it's a bad ending move. It's got to be. He's got to change that move. So,
and I'm just tired of the. I'm tired of the Caterpillar. But regardless, so we get in there, and Sami Zayn's handing out blue thunder bombs, like the government's handing out checks to the stimulus checks and everything. And it's like, one of these days, Sami Zayn's going to win a match hitting a blue thunder bomb.
I think I saw it once.
I'm
once in all his years in WWE.
And in the end, Sheamus goes and he hits the bro kick and he gets the pinfall. And for whatever reason, I thought it's a shameful thing. Lobster head, a careless man who can wind up. I was waiting for that song to hit his song now, and I'm like,
There's nothing wrong with his
it's nothing wrong with his song now, but he has the greatest entrance song of all time, and they don't want to use it. And I die a little on the inside whenever that song doesn't come on. I die a little bit.
Personally, for the theme song I want to hear come back more than that for Sheamus is when Drew McIntyre eventually goes heel. I want his original theme song to come back. You gotta stop singing during this show. You're terrible. You're terrible. You can rap. You should rap Drew McIntyre's song. It'll sound better. You love singing, don't you?
Yo, out of time. Yo, to say goodbye. What is yours is now mine.
Yeah, that's much better. Much better. I like it.
You know what the worst part is? They were throwing tomatoes at me when we were doing karaoke, and I'm not very appreciative of that. It was not that bad. All I know is that Simon Cowell somehow showed up during that party and was like, this has to be the worst performance I've ever seen. Bro, I'm not even on American Idol, man. I'm just trying to sing Rick Astley.
Yeah.
Was it really that bad? It was that bad. I admit it was terrible.
Terrible.
It was
terrible.
The worst performance by anybody doing karaoke in the history of mankind.
No, I've seen worse. It was close. You know who I'd like to hear do karaoke is Jean-Ralphio.
You know who is a really good karaokeer? Nathan. Yeah. He sounds just like Scott Stapp.
With all I hope on.
Oh, here we go. And we actually got a Creed mention on the podcast.
So we had all that melee going on with the end of SmackDown, but a segment that happened earlier in the show, and it will be part of the main event for Royal Rumble, is we had the Tribal Chief and the Cupcake Chief having an interview. Michael Cole, baby, was the interviewee for, and it was all right. It was not like the great stuff, of a couple weeks ago. Like Owens had an awful lot of passion towards the end of this promo, but Owens just talking about like, oh, this match is going to end like our other two matches are. He was like, in my view, I beat Roman Reigns twice, but he had help from his family, and we're in a last man standing match, and I'm assuming his family's going to be there again.
Not just one of his cousins, both of them.
So, but in the end, the Roman just talks about how. So, hey, you want to talk about my family? Let's talk about your family. And asked him like, well, do you consider like you what's your father like? And talked about how his dad was still is a good man and smart man, and more or less at the end of this, Roman was like going, well, if your dad was such a smart man, like he couldn't be, because obviously I'm the head of the table. You're inferior to me, and you should just know your place and get in line, because I'm going to win. And that caused Owens to tism.
Oh, wait. So that means he blocked him on Twitter?
He probably did.
I will say this. You know what? Roman Reigns was 100% right to say that all those things about Kevin Owens. Because you know what? I have said so many worse things to to Roman Reigns over the years on Twitter. And Kevin Owens gets upset because I make a little snide comment joke about cupcakes and eating them. And I'm like, dude, it wasn't even anything like malicious. You fat fuck.
Yeah.
The way that I look at Kevin Owens when it comes to like predictions and everything is just like Kurt Warner when it comes to picking the game that the Giants are playing in. I will never, ever pick Kevin Owens to win a match as long as I live. Kevin Owens could be going up against James Ellsworth, and I would still pick James Ellsworth. And I do think this, and I forgot to mention this about Monday Night Raw. They dropped the ball. They should have had Goldberg versus Gilbert on Raw. I know they only have 2 wrestling matches a year for Goldberg, and he's going to win the match tomorrow night, and then he's going to go on to
Spoiler alert.
I'm assuming. I'm making that's my prediction. But
all right. So that was Raw and SmackDown for the week. So
I'm sorry. There was one thing because we did mention Braun Strowman when the whole 47-man tag team match happened in the main event. After it was all said and done, the heels went after the faces, and then you got the Braun Express or whatever the hell it is come out, and he cleared house and everything, returning from his suspension that he got. It's good to see Braun Strowman. He looks in really good shape. Like he is toned as fuck. I'm impressed.
Well, it's probably because he can't go to Waffle House as much and order like 2 complete tables worth of food. He probably orders the Swanson. I want every piece of bacon.
All right, party time.
Every piece of bacon you have.
It's like that episode where they're
not a lot. Every piece.
The episode of Parks and Rec where they're at the deli and he orders the party platter for 12 people and it's all cold cuts. Sir, that's for 12 people. Son, I know what I'm about. It brings it over. All right, party time. And Leslie goes, you might want to sit here and watch. He'll be done in like 20 minutes. Oh, Swanson is the GOAT. I love Ron Swanson.
So we did get the return of the Monster Among Men who cleared the ring, and Michael Cole surprisingly found out in the middle of all of this that, yes, Braun Strowman is officially in the Royal Rumble. I don't know how he figured that out, but
obviously he just showed up and he's like, oh, he's there. That's what everybody else does.
Right. Even though the Monster Among Men didn't say anything about wanting to be in the Royal Rumble, well, and I think Adam Pearce didn't say that he's part of the Royal Rumble. He's just part of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
One of those dumb things WWE does.
Stop. WWE has never done anything stupid in their entire existence.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We can go an entire weekend straight, probably like 37 and a half hours talking about all the stupid shit WWE has done over the years.
So, yeah. So one thing that we should definitely get into right now is the Royal Rumble. We've been teasing it, and we've been talking about all the things leading up to this.
Really quick.
You said that again.
Really quick. What's your favorite Rumble of all time? I have to put you on the spot in this one.
I'll go with 1989. Like, I loved 92 is the greatest Royal Rumble of all 92. Time, but just the beginning of the 89 Royal Rumble where like Demolition were beating the holy hell out of each other at the beginning. And then when number 3 comes out and it's Andre the Giant and they like go, oh, all right, let's stop beating each other up. And the tag team champions beating on Andre the Giant. I love the beginning of that. And I think that was one of the 2 Rumbles that Hogan ended up winning. But,
I think it was too.
But I really enjoyed that mostly because of the beginning.
For me, because I will agree with you, 92 was a fantastic Royal Rumble. Not just because of the fact that Ric Flair won the WWF Championship in his Rumble debut, but the fact is that Bobby Heenan painted such a beautiful picture of that, just calling that. It's Bobby Heenan's greatest performance. I don't care what anybody says. But for me, my favorite personally is 1997. Because that was like when the wheels in motion got going for Stone Cold Steve Austin to become a GOAT, because it was at that 97 Rumble where he came out as number 5 and he's fighting all these people and eliminating them. And there was more than one occasion during the match where like it was just him in the ring, just waiting for the next guy to come out. And I just remember because like the one that always sticks out for me and it always puts a smile on my face when I watch it is when he's sitting in the corner and he's doing this thing with the time and he's waiting, and all of a sudden Bret Hart's music hits and he goes like this and he's got this look on his face like, oh shit, here comes the Hitman. I will forever, that face will always be like printed in my brain. And that one always sticks out to me because of the fact that Austin won that Royal Rumble, but like all the GOATs that he went through to get to win that match, Terry Funk, Mick Foley, Vader, you name it, all these guys. But those 2 are the 2 that always stick out to me. That and when Vince McMahon tore both of his quads.
2005 Royal Rumble. Like when he had the tism that like Cena and
Batista
like hit at the same time, and that was not supposed to happen. That was so good. Yeah, the Cena return at 2008 at the Garden at awesome. The surprise entrant 30th man. That was a great.
When Edge came out as number 29 in I think 2010, when he went up against Chris Jericho to win the title.
And then obviously I mean, last year's Rumble, I loved. I loved last year's Rumble. Everything that they did with that story, having Brock Lesnar destroy like everybody.
Yeah. He still had that moment with Shelton Benjamin. I love that.
He had the moment with Shelton Benjamin. He went in the ring and did business with like everybody. And one person in particular that I am dying to see him in the ring with, and I've talked about it ad nauseum in this podcast.
Kazarni?
Is Bobby Lashley.
Oh.
And Lashley has actually, like, recently went on the record and said, I think people are purposely trying to not have us in the same room, to have us talk, to try to get this thing to happen. And Lashley said, I've heard people saying that he doesn't think I'm a big enough star to get in the ring with him. And the reason why I'm going to call bullshit on that is last year, Lesnar went into the ring with a bunch of people who were lesser names than Bobby Lashley. Like, he allowed Keith Lee to have a moment. Mm-hmm. He allowed a bunch of other people to have moments in the ring with him. So that's still something I'm waiting to see. And honestly, I think kind of similar to Hogan and the Warrior back in the day, mm-hmm. before their WrestleMania 6 main event, I think we might see that tomorrow. I'm just saying.
Surprised. I would not be surprised.
I actually thought last year's Rumble with Lesnar doing that, the way McIntyre ended up winning with the fact that they had Ricochet, give the ball shot, mm-hmm. which was a makeup, I guess, for the Saudi show.
Right.
Fed into all those storylines, and the Edge return that, thanks to Kevin Dunn, we didn't really get to see it as well as it should have been. But even so.
I know that everything that's happened over the last year with the pandemic has sucked, because it's taken a lot out of everything, between sporting events, wrestling shows, concerts, you name it. The fact that Edge came back with a live crowd was if that's the last thing that we see with a live crowd, that was like such a monumental moment until the vaccine becomes as distributed to everybody, then I'm happy with it. And I hope that eventually we get those fans back. There's talks about like
25,000 per night at WrestleMania.
As much as I would love to be one of those 25 both nights, I can't.
So, all right. So let's get into the card. So I'm going to put the Matt Riddle and Big E matches if it's happening tomorrow.
The Brainless One brought his A game today, people. This might be the scariest thing that exists in this world.
You know what? They can't read that.
It is Brainless Thoughts.
And it's backwards to them.
Oh, well. Wait.
See? Brainless Thoughts.
You're lucky. I was actually going to have Kinsley write it on the cover for me, so it would have been
great. Great. All right. So,
before we get into these predictions really quick.
Why do you keep doing that?
Sorry. I was going to mention the bet that we made.
All right. Could have done it later.
Yeah, true. So Nicole and I, my girlfriend, have come together and made a bet for tomorrow's Royal Rumble. So basically, if she beats me in the predictions for tomorrow, live on the podcast sometime in the foreseeable future, I will be getting a man-o-lantern, where she's going to be waxing a man-o-lantern into my chest. Hair. I don't think anybody cares about what I'm going to get. I'm just getting cookies. So, but I feel really confident, not just because of the fact that I've been watching wrestling for a bajillion years, but the fact is that I am somebody who has been, on more than one occasion, having a flawless card. So I feel really good.
All right.
Yeah.
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 All right.
So we are putting Riddle and all that shit in there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, that's not part of your thing. Don't even worry about that. It's not officially announced anywhere. I saw it on CBS Sports this morning. So, anyway, so Matt Riddle going against Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship.
I'll go with Riddle. If what you want to see at WrestleMania is going to happen, Bobby Lashley's going to have to drop the United States Championship. So, with that being said, because if that is that goes completely against what I have planned out later on in the card. But if they want to go in that direction, Matt Riddle needs to win the U.S. title, and I think it's time for him to win the U.S. title.
I agree. I'm going to go with Riddle in this match because, again, I agree with you that like Lashley needs to be free of this to make this possible match against Brock Lesnar, who, as what we know right now, is he's not officially signed with WWE, although between Lashley mentioning him and Michael Cole last night mentioning him on the air, that tells me that there's probably something up with Lesnar. So Matt Riddle winning, and hopefully we get this match between Lashley and Lesnar, and hopefully we get to see Bobby Lashley in the Rumble later on that night.
Yeah.
All right, then we have Big E going against Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title, and according to Sami Zayn, he's still the Intercontinental Champion.
That also was not on my list.
So
I'm going with Big E. He's not losing the title.
Yeah, Big E wins this match. There's no way he loses the title this early into his run. I love what Sammy's doing with what he's doing right now. He doesn't need a title, and I hope to see a Big E sweater with the Intercontinental title soon.
Yes.
So, Lloyd saying Cedric costing Bobby Lashley in the match because Cedric's definitely been doing some things that have been kind of going against the grain of the rest of the Hurt business.
Chris Brown, who do you see being the first person to challenge Riddle once he wins the United States Championship? I'm curious about that one.
United States Championship. I'm trying to think of the people who are more mid card on on Raw.
Maybe Keith.
You know what? I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
Keith Lee's a face right now. I don't think they'd have that. So I'll think about it, and we'll come back to that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, then we have Carmella going against Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
I also have El Jefe's predictions for this card. Jeff is going with... What the hell? He doesn't even have that picked. Okay. Nicole and I both have Sasha Banks retaining the championship against Carmella.
I agree. Sasha Banks wins this match, and it sets up for one of my picks, my dark horse pick for winning the Women's Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Then we have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler going against Asuka and Charlotte Flair for the women's tag team titles. One thing I'll say about this is we have not seen a lot of Asuka and Charlotte Flair acting as a tag team for basically most of their tag team title run.
I'm going with Asuka and Charlotte because it seems like the easy thing for them to predict is that Asuka and Charlotte are going to come to like blows or something during this match, which is going to set up for Charlotte to potentially win the Royal Rumble and challenge Asuka for the title at WrestleMania. But for whatever reason, that just makes too much sense. And this is WWE we're talking about, so I'm going with Asuka and Charlotte. And I think we finally get the blow off between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who is who Nicole went with.
Okay.
And Jeff went with Asuka and Charlotte.
I'm going with Nia and Shayna here. Asuka and Charlotte are a makeshift tag team. I don't think they're going to, at this point, separate Shayna and Nia. And they're going to move so Asuka and Charlotte can have singles matches set up for WrestleMania. And personally, I don't think that the WrestleMania match for Asuka is going to end up being against Charlotte. We saw Charlotte against Asuka at WrestleMania a couple years ago. But I do have a different theory on who Asuka will be seeing at WrestleMania.
Who?
And it's not Kofi Kingston.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Chris has Charlotte and Asuka retaining.
I also like the fact that he said that he sees a returning Samoa Joe challenging Matt Riddle for the U.S. title, which I would be 100% on board. And that's somebody I completely forgot as a possibility for a surprise entrant or a returning wrestler for tomorrow is Samoa Joe in the Rumble, which I wouldn't be honestly, I wouldn't really be that surprised if Joe was in the Rumble.
Sure. All right. So then we have Bill Goldberg going against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Nicole has Drew McIntyre, and El Jefe and I both have taken Goldberg.
I'm going with McIntyre with this one. I just think that, like, Drew has some momentum going, and it'd be nice to have him be in the main event of WrestleMania with people like he was supposed to have last year. And I don't know. I just get the feeling that they're going to continue with that. Goldberg does not need a title to be an attraction.
Correct.
So he could still have a match at WrestleMania without that. Maybe some chicanery gets involved in this match, and that sets up for his WrestleMania match. But I don't know. I just feel Drew is going to retain.
Okay. Honestly, goodness, either outcome I wouldn't be surprised by, but I just got this disgusting feeling that it's going to be Goldberg that ends up winning the title.
And you know what? You could be right. I mean, he has won the title every time he's come back. And it could be a rematch between Drew and Goldberg at WrestleMania for all we know.
It could also be a unification. Because the one thing that keeps getting, like, that thing that we were talking about, where there's that one scenario that is out there that scares the living shit out of people, but is getting a lot of momentum heading into Royal Rumble. The thing that I've been thinking about was Goldberg winning the Royal Rumble, whether he has it with the WWE Championship and then going after the Tribal Chief to be like a unification, or if it's Goldberg losing against McIntyre, still entering the Royal Rumble, and then he goes up against Roman Reigns.
I think the problem with unification is then you only have one champion, and then once they start doing live shows again, which I know are not going to be as prevalent as they used to be, the house sells better when you have a champion. So I don't think they're going to have the days where they go back to having one champion, and I have a hard time believing that USA Network or Fox would be a fan of that. That's my opinion.
The only reason I even pitched it was because somebody said, what is a scenario that's out there that scares the living shit out of people of actually happening and it's gaining momentum? That's the one thing that comes to my mind of what scares the shit out of people that could happen. Because there's really nobody else out there that really, like, I don't want to see this happen.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's not. That's what I don't want to see. Other than Roman Reigns actually winning the Royal Rumble itself.
So we have Kevin Owens going against Roman Reigns in a last man standing match for the Universal Championship.
I think this is a clean sweep.
Yeah, Roman Reigns is going to win this match. And how he goes about it, I think the idea is, like, they've brought up the whole family aspect of this, and I think returning Jimmy Uso is going to be the difference maker in this.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. I do think that Jimmy Uso is going to be finally coming back, because I've only been saying it for like the last 2 months.
Well, and when he came back a couple months ago, like, he looked like he was moving around okay. So I think he's pretty close. I think he's going to be the difference maker here. And, Kevin Owens does not have a lot of allies.
I think
except for from Hostess.
I think that Roman Reigns retaining tomorrow is more of a, like, lopsided, like everybody's picking it, than if, like, Alabama played like Old Dominion in a football game.
Right.
But I'm
sure they're going to put on an entertaining match.
I'll tell you,
I know that.
If Kevin Owens wins, that'll be a bigger surprise than who my surprise entrant pick for tomorrow is going to be.
All right.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I say we do the Women's Royal Rumble first.
All right.
How we're going to do it is we're going to have our top pick, we're going to have our dark horse, and then we're going to have our surprise entrant. I think that's fair for both of them.
Sure.
Okay. So for the Women's Royal Rumble, Nicole has Bianca Belair as her pick to win the Royal Rumble. Her dark horse, for some weird reason, I don't know how this happens, we're a heavy favorite, but either way, Rhea Ripley is her dark horse pick to win the Royal Rumble tomorrow. And her surprise entrant is Becky Lynch.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I am going with Becky Lynch winning the Women's Royal Rumble.
Ooh!
And my reasoning for this is when Becky left, she handed the belt to Asuka because Asuka had the Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's also a theory out there that possibly like Becky exchanged the Money in the Bank for the belt, and she is technically the Money in the Bank holder.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But I get the feeling Becky wins, and Becky's like, I never lost this title. I'm coming back for my title. And she gave it to Asuka. So I think this sets up wonderfully for a WrestleMania women's title match. So that's that. My dark horse is Trish Stratus. Trish is not officially announced, and obviously she'd be a surprise entrant, but they have been talking up Trish Stratus versus Sasha Banks. For the last several months, Trish said she would willingly come out of retirement to do that. She wants that match to happen, and what stage to have that match to showcase, the greatest women's champion of all time.
In the Showcase of Immortals.
Yeah. So
I dig it.
So that would be my dark horse. So, I mean, I've already got 2 surprise entrants, and I'll say Ronda Rousey will also show up in this Rumble match.
Okay. The thing, because I did like her idea of Becky being the surprise entrant, and Becky's in this Royal Rumble, she's winning this shit. There's no way that she's going to come back after just having a child like a month ago, and coming back just to be a part of the Royal Rumble. If Becky Lynch shows up tomorrow, she's winning that bitch.
Yeah.
Jeff did not give us a surprise entrant because I didn't really ask him for one. But Jeff's pick to win the Royal Rumble is Charlotte. His dark horse, which I really liked, Mandy Rose.
Hey,
that would be that because that would be the best way to do it.
You know what, Lloyd? That's one thing me and the Brainless One talked about. We didn't say Taya Valkyrie is a surprise entrant, but we did talk about Tessa Blanchard.
That would not be a surprise. I mean,
It would be a surprise.
It'd be a surprise if Taya Valkyrie showed up tomorrow. I'd be like, oh shit, I can't believe she's here. But not like, oh fuck, I did not see that coming. I guess is the best way to put it. It would be a pleasant surprise. Best way to put it. Tessa Blanchard that'd be a good one.
So.
I picked Bianca Belair. You know me, and I hate betting on favorites, even though I'm a horse racing fan, because you don't get better payoffs with the favorites. But Bianca Belair, the great story that she has and all that stuff, I really see her as like the most likely person, and I would love to see her win the Royal Rumble. My dark horse candidate to win is a returning from injury, Chelsea Green. Because it makes a lot of sense, because nobody's really talking about her. I think that she has a really good chance as a dark horse candidate to win the Royal Rumble and go up against Sasha Banks at WrestleMania.
All right, so we got Lloyd with Rhea Ripley winning this, but he's also saying if Becky's in it, she'll win. And yeah, Chris Brown saying his dark horse is Ronda Rousey, and yeah.
My surprise entrant, Beth Phoenix. There's been a lot of speculation that they were talking about Edge and Beth Phoenix teaming up to go up against The Fiend and Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania. You need to start planting the seed for that match if that's the case. Beth Phoenix was in the Royal Rumble before. In fact, last year was the year I think she cracked her skull on the back of the ring post.
Yeah.
So
she looked so badass.
Yeah.
After that, cool. Like continuing to wrestle.
I mean, it sucked that she had that injury happen, but I mean, it was still like it looked really cool.
So,
but Beth Phoenix is my surprise entrant for the Royal Rumble this year.
All right.
Now we get to the men's Royal Rumble.
This is where it's like throw your cards up in the air and who knows?
And I'm just so happy that there is no clear-cut favorite or 2 people that really stick out. Like I said, there could be anywhere from like up to a dozen different people that could win it this year.
All right. So who did Nicole have?
Nicole's pick for the Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan.
All right.
Her dark horse, Edge. And her surprise entrant is The Fiend.
Okay.
El Jefe picked Brock Lesnar to win the Royal Rumble.
On Monday, it's like, talking about trying to grab at his chance to get that title that he never lost 10 years ago.
Right.
And getting his career back and getting the title he never lost back. Edge, in my view, is going to win this match. If I'm going with a dark horse, I'm going with John Cena. So my reasoning for John Cena being the dark horse here, you want to get the biggest possible match you could get. Now, yes, we've seen John Cena versus Roman Reigns in the past. But if, Roman Reigns is going to be the tribal chief, he needs to run through everybody and beat them on the biggest stage of them all. So I think the biggest match they could set up for Roman Reigns, because they're not going to continue this Kevin Owens thing. And if you want a bigger match, I think you go with somebody like with John Cena going against Roman Reigns. I know we've seen this feud before, but we have not seen the tribal chief versus the leader of the C Nation. So I would like to see that.
Ooh. Chris Brown has Samoa Joe as his pick. His dark horse is Wade Barrett, who I would fucking love to see Wade Barrett in the Rumble tomorrow. And John Cena coming in at number 30.
And
so
winning.
There's a couple people at with John Cena. And then we have Lloyd Strickland, who's got Edge winning as his top pick. His dark horse is Shinsuke Nakamura, and his surprise entrant is Jay White. It's funny you say Jay White because one of the names I've been flirting around that possibly could be a surprise entrant tomorrow is Marty Scurll. But he's not my pick for surprise entrant. My pick, because it makes the most sense of anything possible, because you got Roman Reigns, who's the top guy on SmackDown. They had a guy drafted to SmackDown who's supposed to be their big name guy, and obviously he had to get moved to Raw because they have too many faces and stuff. Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Because, Roman Reigns has Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's, done all this stuff, and Paul Heyman never really got rid of Lesnar. It just kind of happened that way. So I think it makes the most sense storyline-wise for Brock Lesnar to win the Royal Rumble and challenge Roman Reigns for the title.
Sure.
My dark horse is Jey Uso.
Okay.
Because it would just, again, storyline-wise, it would make a lot of sense. Him going after his cousin's the tribal chief, all that stuff. And the payoff at WrestleMania would be great. And it'd be one way for them to build up Jey Uso as a future star in the company.
Okay.
My surprise entrant for you, though, folks. CM Punk.
All right.
Him as number 30 would be ridiculous, and I think that's the reason why they swapped. And I feel like I dropped the ball because my original pick to win the entire Royal Rumble was for you.
Slapjack. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even think Slapjack's going to be in the Royal Rumble. He might be rumbling with the catering crew on Sunday, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, he has to raid the paper plates.
Before they give them to somebody else.
So, all right. So those are our predictions for this week. So
yeah. And whether you are a first-time watcher or somebody who is,
why don't we do our good, bad, and brainless before we get into that? Right?
Fuck, I can't believe I forgot about good, bad, and brainless.
It's right on our list.
The sad part is I was so prepared. I actually wrote it down this week.
All right. Well, we got to get moving along. I got stuff to do in like 10 minutes.
All righty.
So, all right.
What's your good?
My good for this week is I enjoyed the Miz and Morrison and all the stuff they did all this week. Mm-hmm. I've enjoyed their little fun with like teasing everybody about cashing in on them, and just that little thing where like
at the end
in between
McIntyre
and Brock Goldberg. I love that. I love little stuff like that. So Miz and Morrison, congratulations. That was awesome.
I'm going with MSK versus Killian Dane and Drake Maverick from NXT during the Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament. They just had an incredible match. and I was just thoroughly entertained. And the more I watch MSK, formerly known as the Rascals, I'm more of a fan of them.
Yeah.
What's your bad for this week?
The amount of singles matches that turned into multi-person matches, and they just ridiculously kept on expanding. Like a regular match turned into a 6-man or 6-woman match, which turned into an 8-person match, which turned into a 9-person match, which turned into a 10-person match.
And you were waiting for a gauntlet match.
And gauntlet matches happen too. So
the only thing missing was a Punjabi prison match.
Right. I know that they do that to protect the wrestlers, but it was just overdone.
Yeah,
this week. So
nice segue too, because my bad a year ago when the guy from the Dark Order did the same thing to Dustin Runnels on Dynamite. I'm going with Pete Dunne's punches from Wednesday. Him and Finn Balor kind of got into the thing, and you can see as clear as day, Pete Dunne was not landing a single punch on Finn Balor. And I was just embarrassed because I sit here and talk about how good Pete Dunne is and all that jazz, and I expected better from Pete Dunne. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. Just watching.
Like Mia Yim. So.
Well, nobody's that bad, Jay. Stop. So. Reckoning.
Right. Sorry. I'm sorry. Her name's Reckoning. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Chris, 12 sounds about right as far as the amount of participants announced. So
I think it's about 12 or a dozen or a baker's dozen.
All right. And Brainless for this week. Nobody should kick out of the Doomsday device ever. The fact that somebody kicked out of the Doomsday device is complete bullshit. No, never, ever.
Hawk and Animal both turned in their graves for that.
So that is my Brainless for this week.
I'm going with the fact that WWE is making these announcements for the Royal Rumble tonight. The fact that they're announcing number 1 and number 2 for the men's Rumble, and the fact that the women's number 30 spot is up between Natalya and Tamina Snuka, it's just stupid because the whole point of the Royal Rumble is surprises, like who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2, and all throughout the entire thing, who's going to win. And they just took away the biggest part of, or one of my favorite parts. So the fact that they made these announcements is fucking stupid.
All right. Boom.
Okay.
All right, that's our good, bad, and brainless for this week.
So if you are a first-time watcher or somebody who has been a fan of us since day one as H, you know the deal. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F, and Marks. Like, follow, and subscribe to us. We'll do the same back. It's always been our mantra.
Yeah, and go to All Elite Marks on Facebook.com, and that's where we go live every week and set up the notifications so that when we go live, you will be informed so that way you could tune in and join in on all the fun. Yeah.
I think that's everything.
I think it is.
Except for one.
Wait.
That's because today, which is 2,197 days, but tomorrow marks the 6-year anniversary, sort of when it happened. That FN Marks Hall of Famer Curtis Axel is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Such a fail on my part with getting this ready.
It's a very, very sad day for the FN Marks.
It is a very, very sad day. And thank you for everybody who's tuning in this week. I got to get the heck out of here because I have people here that I've got a thing with, like right now. So,
okay. See y'all
thank you,
next
everybody.
week.
Enjoy the Rumble. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you.